Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking the absolutely massive, heavy-duty reality of what it actually takes to operate a modern ship. We're going to go all the way from the microscopic mechanical wear of essential deck gear right out to the immense, frankly terrifying physical forces of the open ocean. So if you've ever wondered how seafarers keep thousands of tons of steel afloat and perfectly operational, well, you're in the right place.
I mean, it's a crazy thought, right? Picture a massive cargo ship dropping its anchor. What on earth is actually holding all that weight and preventing that multi-ton chain from just slipping under thousands of pounds of pressure? Today, we are cracking open real marine engineering manuals to find out. And the answer? It actually comes down to one highly critical, very tangible piece of equipment that endures just unbelievable stress. So, here's our agenda for today's explainer. 1. The mighty anchor windlass. 2. Mooring and anchoring. 3. Essential seamanship and rigging. 4. Shipboard maintenance and repair. 5. Hull construction. And finally, 6. Surviving extreme ship stresses. Let's get into it.
Section 1. The mighty anchor windlass. So meet the wildcat. Out in the industry, you'll also hear it called a gypsy wheel or a cable lifter. Now, this isn't just any wheel, okay? It is a brilliantly engineered piece of cast steel. The real secret to its holding power lies in its precisely machined pockets. These pockets are literally designed to perfectly match the specific link profile and pitch, the exact spacing of a vessel's anchor chain. It essentially locks that massive chain right into place.
But here's the catch. Because of the extreme friction and the absolute immense weight of that anchor and chain, the Wildcat is actually the highest wear component on the entire windlass. When those carefully machined pockets inevitably start to wear down, the chain begins to slip under load. And let me tell you, in the middle of an anchoring operation, a slipping chain isn't just a minor headache. It is a severe safety hazard that can lead to total catastrophic failure.
And because that risk is so high, replacing a Wildcat isn't like, buying a standard car tire off the shelf. You need exact matching metrics. We're talking the specific chain caliber and the precise link pitch. On top of that, the manufacturing has to adhere strictly to Classification Society standards, things like ISO 1704 or IACS URW18. It's the only way to completely guarantee safety and compliance on deck.
Section 2. Mooring and anchoring operations.
Now, it's pretty fascinating to look directly at the actual academic requirements for a Bachelor of Science in Marine Transportation. Seeing this proves that understanding mooring systems, tug handling, and anchoring, well, it isn't just on-the-job, figure-it-out-as-you-go training. These are rigorous, foundational academic competencies that every single deck cadet has to master before they ever take command.
Take mooring, for instance. It isn't just tossing a rope to a dock. It's this highly sequential, intricate operation. Cadets learn a precise order of events. First, making fast fore and aft to a fixed terminal or jetty. Then, safely letting go of the towing tugs. And crucially, they have to constantly adjust those moorings during a port stay. Imagine trying to keep your car perfectly parked on an elevator that's just constantly moving up and down. That's exactly what changing tides and cargo loads do to a ship. So crews have to continually calculate the safe working loads and braking strengths of both their synthetic lines and steel wires.
Section 3. Essential seamanship and rigging. So out on the water, seafarers have to master what the syllabus calls marlinspike seamanship. I absolutely love that term. It's essentially the secret vocabulary of the sea. It involves intricate, hands-on skills, like knowing exactly how to use different kinds of knots, splices, and stoppers. But really, it's all about extreme safety. It's knowing how to flawlessly rig a bosun's chair so you can safely suspend a crewmate over the side of the ship, or how to properly set up pilot ladders and rat guards without a second thought. And a massive part of this rigging knowledge simply comes down to knowing your materials. A cadet has to instantly know the difference in application, maintenance, and markings between traditional natural fiber ropes like manila and hemp and the heavy-duty wire cables and chains used for extreme tension. Using a fiber rope in a spot where a wire rope is required, that could legitimately be a fatal error.
Section 4. Shipboard maintenance and repair.
To keep a massive vessel totally shipshape, the crew doesn't just swab the deck and call it a day. They have to follow some incredibly strict chemical and safety guidelines. The syllabus outlines intense routine maintenance. We're talking about battling relentless, never-ending rust with thorough surface preparation, using good old WD-40 to free up seized parts before lubrication, and carefully mixing and coating toxic paints.
Plus, they have to rigorously manage the safe disposal of all these chemical waste materials to make sure they're protecting the marine environment. Now, all of this intense physical labor doesn't just happen on a whim. It's always initiated by a job order. This is basically the foundational official directive from a department head. It's the paperwork that keeps the ship's entire maintenance schedule running like a well-oiled machine, ensuring that every single winch, hatch, and watertight door is systematically inspected, maintained, and ready to go.
Section 5. Hull Construction and Anatomy.
The source material for this is just packed with this fantastic nautical jargon. We're talking words like camber, tumble home, breast hooks, and duck keels. But these aren't just old-timey sailor words. They describe the highly specialized geometric and structural framework of the modern hull. For example, breast hooks provide crucial additional structural strength in the forward region of the ship, and bilge keels? Those are attached right to the ship's exterior side to actively minimize the vessel rolling around in the waves.
Looking closely at this curriculum really brilliantly illustrates just how much pure structural engineering a marine transportation student has to internalize. Before they even step foot on a bridge to navigate, they absolutely must understand the location and function of peak tanks, cofferdams, bulkheads, and all the primary structural members that literally make up the skeleton of their ship.
A super important mathematical concept they learn about the hull is the freeboard. Essentially, this is the distance measured from the upper edge of the deck line straight down to the water. Understanding the assigned summer, freeboard, and load line rules is absolutely critical. It fundamentally ensures the vessel isn't overloaded, which basically guarantees it has enough buoyancy to survive the open ocean safely.
Section 6. Surviving Extreme Ship Stresses.
Okay, I want you to imagine the sheer scale of the sea state for a second. Let's talk about hogging. This happens when a massive wave lifts the exact middle of the ship, which causes the heavy bow and stern to drop down. Sagging, on the other hand, is the exact opposite. It occurs when the ship slumps down into the trough between two waves at the bow and stern. This constant bending back and forth creates absolutely massive alternating tensile and compressive forces on the deck and the bottom structures. Seriously, think of bending a paperclip back and forth until it snaps. A massive steel hull is literally flexing in the exact same way. It's wild.
And it's not just bending. The hull has to endure some intense localized dynamic stresses too. There's pounding or slamming, which is when the bow violently impacts the waves. Then there's panting. This is forward structural stress, where the metal is literally breathing in and out due to fluctuating water pressure. You've also got racking, which physically distorts the ship's cross-section. Oh, and don't forget the internal chaos of liquid sloshing. That's massive pressure stress set up by thousands of gallons of cargo or ballast water violently moving around inside partly filled tanks.
At the end of the day, understanding all these dynamic stresses, knowing how to safely replace a wildcat, and mastering your mooring lines, it all serves one singular ultimate goal, and that is following contingency plans to strictly maintain the vessel's watertight integrity. Because if that integrity fails, well, the ship goes down.
From the microscopic wear of a cast steel pocket to the macro stresses of pounding ocean waves, a modern seafarer has to understand their vessel inside and out. It really is a marvel of human engineering and dedication. So knowing the sheer mechanical forces and structural stresses at play out there, are you ready to shoulder a mariner's immense responsibility? Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer. Until next time, keep learning.